All right, we're going to keep the AI conversation going. We are really excited to welcome Ethan Mollick next to stage. Ethan is a professor at the Wharton School of Business at UPenn. He teaches innovation and entrepreneurship, and he also leads Wharton Interactive, which is an immersive approach to education using gaming and simulations, and it's all about democratizing access to business education. So we're really thrilled to have him here. His work has been covered in publications like the New York Times and CNN and many others, and he also advises a number of startup companies. And today he'll be talking about ways that AI can help make instructors more effective while saving time and effort, and what students learn when AI is mandatory. So we're really excited for his talk, and without further ado, please welcome Ethan Mollick.
Hello, everyone. I'm Ethan Mollick. I'm a professor at Wharton, the Business School, University of Pennsylvania. I also run Wharton Interactive, which is our attempt to build games for business training and simulations. I've been doing that for over a decade. And I have slipped into AI as a result of that. So doing interactive learning for a long time, working in AI-adjacent spaces. And I have been doing a lot of early experimentation and research on the topic. So that's what I want to talk with you about today. So let's start the conversation. So among many things that I've been experimenting with AI, I've been requiring in the class, I want to talk to you a little about that. But I want us to have some ground rules about what I think AI is going to look like in classrooms in the near future. And so the answer is it's going to be undetectable, ubiquitous, and transformative. And all of these images, by the way, I did in Mid-Journey in 3 seconds, right? So if they all have the right number of fingers now, that problem is solved. But it's pretty amazing you can generate these kind of graphics instantly, right? But undetectable in that we know that you cannot detect AI plagiarism, right? Not just in the short term, it's possible. In the long term, it's not possible. There's both theoretical reasons why it's not possible, but also I found that when I prompted my students to actually do a good job writing AI-based essays, they become undetectable. Just 2 or 3 rounds, and it's impossible for any of these systems to find out what they are. So you're not going to be able to detect AI plagiarism. And of course, who knows what plagiarism is anymore, right? Is working with the AI to come up with an outline that you don't use plagiarism. Asking it for 30 ideas for your essay and picking the one you like best, plagiarism. Asking it to rewrite a paragraph that you didn't like before. I've had students come up to me and say, English is my 4th language, and I don't do very well in English, and people don't take me seriously as a result, and now I just use AI to do all the writing, and now I'm taken seriously. Is that bad? Is that plagiarism? We don't know. We have to grapple with some of these questions in a serious way. Ubiquitous in that what makes AI so interesting is it's a tool available to over 1 billion people right now. And if you're rich, you have no better access than if you don't have a lot of money. Right? The same tool is available everywhere. You can use GPT-4, the latest model, free through Bing. Hint, be in the purple creative mode. That's what uses GPT-4. And you can actually use this system right now to do everything. It's in the hands of every teacher everywhere. Right? So everything that you guys are doing in building EdTech, there's now a universal AI in everybody's hands. It is ubiquitous not just among students, but among teachers. Not everyone's figured that out yet, but they will soon. And it's transformative in that we don't quite know what to do with this, right? I was on the stage yesterday, and I was saying the original definition of the singularity, you may have heard of the AI singularity, right? The idea of a singularity is past that point, we can't predict what's going to happen. And that's where we are right now. If you ask me, and I teach at a business school, what the future of jobs looks like 2 to 3 years out, I don't really know. I know that we're seeing 20 to 80% performance improvements at white-collar tasks with AI. 20 to 80%. Steam power was 25%. I don't know what we do with that information, right? I don't know whether people do more work than they did before, whether the nature of jobs changes. I can't give you an answer to that, but we don't know what's going to happen. A lot is going to happen in the near future. And it's transformative to education, too. I think that we have a real advantage here on the education side for those who are educators that I think we're going to be fine. I think that what we just saw from the amazing speech by Sal Khan is that there are tools that will make education better and more effective. We'll figure out, there'll still be a need for classrooms. At least in the medium term, we're fine. We'll figure this stuff out. But it is going to transform things, right? And if you haven't seen this, this is the trend in AI test scores. And keep in mind, GPT 3.5, that's ChatGPT, that was released back at the end of November. And GPT-4 just came out. The bar exam, this is the percentile it scored among all human students, right? Not the percent right. It went from 5% right to scoring 85%, better than 85% of people on the bar exam. At the 99th percent of the GRE verbal, at the 80th percentile in quantitative, just passed the neurosurgeon bar exam, qualifying exam, a paper just showed a couple days ago. This is changing the way we think of testing, right? If we're testing people on these kind of characteristics, the AI is passing that, what does that mean? Again, past the singularity, I can't give you the answer, but it certainly forces us to grapple with this in some kind of useful, interesting way. So things are changing. Things are changing fundamentally. How do we start to deal with that? I'm going to propose 3 levels of adjustment we're going through. And I know some of you are educators, some of you are from EdTech companies. I want to kind of talk to all of that. So the first thing we can do is we can expect more from students. That's the first level. So I actually have mandatory AI in my class. I want to show you my AI syllabus question, and I'll make sure you have access to all of it. So you don't have to read it all, don't worry. But I required everyone to use AI for everything, OK? So I gave them the basic rules. It lies to you a lot. You're responsible for its content, right? It rewards good work. If you don't do good effort into putting together prompts, you won't get good outcomes from those prompts, right? It's a tool, and it's one you have to acknowledge. So they have to list all the prompts they used and write a reflection on what worked and what didn't. So it completely changed how the class worked. And I'm lucky enough to teach a business class, right? So it's about outcomes and doing things. If it was a fundamental writing class, I think some of the solutions you saw earlier, and again, we'll solve those, blue books, working outside of class, working with those AI tutors, all of those things will help us solve these problems. But embracing AI is really powerful. One class, for example, before AI, I had the students come with a theoretical product design. It was about designing new products, and create and test a really early prototype, write an outline of the results. With AI in the class, it became come with a product design, build the product using laser cutters, build a working app, create a marketing material, create graphics, write a full report. All of that, right, and for people who've never done any of this before, right? And so they were building board games in this class. Here's some happy students with the outputs they came up with. This was for just a 4-week-long class, right? Like this was not that many sessions together. So we can expect more. I don't accept papers that aren't good anymore because the minimum you can do is turn in a good paper. So why am I going to force you to write a bad one, right? So I can increase our standards of what we can accomplish. What can we accomplish in a grade? What can we accomplish with students? What can people do when they're unleashed in this way? That's the first change that I think we can think about making. The second one is to better pedagogy and less work. What do I mean by this? Well, so this is a chart of peer-reviewed articles in pedagogy, so the science of teaching. And it turns out the last couple decades have been incredibly rich for us to learn how people learn. And those rules are not going to change. The way humans learn isn't going to change. It turns out, though, that many of the ways that we are teaching people are not actually well aligned with the science. Right? It turns out like lectures are a very bad approach to teaching, which is bad for me as a college professor, right? And there's a whole bunch of techniques that don't work very well or don't scale well that are really effective. Well, one of the cool things about the AI is it allows us to more easily implement these kind of complex pedagogical approaches. So this is just a couple examples, and I'll put a link at the end. You can I give away the prompts for all these things. So, and you can just experiment, by the way. There's no magic in prompt crafting. Just use the AI enough, and you will figure out how to make good prompts. There's not, anyone's trying to sell you courses, don't worry about it. It's figure outable, right? But this is an example of creating explanations, right? Explain photosynthesis to elementary school kids using analogies, right? It's like baking a cake. The plant needs specific ingredients, sunlight and water and carbon dioxide, and a kitchen tool, chlorophyll, to make a delicious cake, glucose. Or imagine it's a solar-powered toy car. Any level I want, I can now create explanations. I can create customized information. If I said this kid is interested in becoming a chef growing up, it would change all the explanations to chef-based explanations. This is all something you can do right now, right? You don't need a tool to do this. You don't need an EdTech technology. You can literally go and just say, I'd like to explain this concept to my class. My class is interested in whatever TV show they want, Mr. Beast, whatever they care about, and you can have the explanations in that context. It's very easy to do, right? And similarly, low-stakes testing. We all hate it. It's the single best approach, though, to getting people to learn, right? Not just for assessment, but it turns out tests do lots of great things for us mentally. It increases our ability to recall-related facts, interleaving, and it can be annoying to generate all kinds of testing material. It does it for you, right? And with just the right prompt, you'll get good testing material. Even other things, like another thing that the pedagogical research shows is really important is interleaving things. So if I'm teaching one lesson, I need to mention previous lessons or people forget it, right? That can be a hard thing to do as you move from topic to topic. You can literally just ask the AI. I was teaching about the American history last week. Now I'm teaching about World War I. Create some connections and questions I can bring up about that. Does it for you. Right? So this is even without moving to a new world of tutoring. Your job gets easier. It does better work for you. And this is leaving aside all this sort of sketchier things. It grades better than my TAs do, but I'm still grading by hand for now. But there is all of this new kind of technology, and you can do all of this. Right? You don't have to wait for someone to provide this to you. This is available to you right now. Right? And you could save time and effort as an instructor and do better teaching as a result. And like I said, I've got lists of prompts, but you can experiment with whatever you want. You guys are all experts and professionals. You can build from that. And what's great is we know what we need to do to have that sort of personalized instruction piece. We need to give people the right prior knowledge. We need to give them appropriate challenges. I mean, one of the things that I've learned as somebody who's using games to teach is it's not, you can't just give people fun, right? Unfortunately, people have to be challenged to work. That's how we learn through challenge. And so scaling that challenge is really hard. You end up with students who are bored and students who are overworked. Now we can actually personalize that level, right? Give me an exercise for my most advanced students. Give me an easier exercise. All of that's now easily doable. Adaptive feedback, how do we give people information as they go? You saw some of that in the Khan Academy. And how do we provide more support? We can start to do that in the classroom. If we shift more of the instruction to tools like the ones you saw earlier, that lets us as classroom teachers do a better job interacting with the students, bringing things together, making meaning out of our work, rather than just counting on it to be delivering content. Really exciting sets of changes, right? And one that, again, you guys can embrace as educators or as people who are education adjacent, because this gives you the ability to do that. You just get to experiment. You get to be better at your job. It's a pretty exciting outcome, right? And you don't have to buy anything to do this, which is also kind of amazing, right? OK, third thing. This is what I've been thinking about a lot at this conference, right? Which is I think we've entered a completely new phase of EdTech. And I think some people have figured that out, and other people are about to figure it out pretty soon. So let me tell you about that, OK? So I am an EdTech. I didn't really think of myself at this conference as an EdTech person, but I guess I'm an EdTech person because I'm running an EdTech startup inside a business school, right? So we're not really trying to, I'm not raising capital. I've already done the startup thing. I teach startups. I don't want to do it again myself, having been there. Actually, I invented the paywall in the late 90s. I still feel bad about that. So I'm trying to make it up to all of you. But in any case, let's talk about what we're doing. So I've been working with a really amazing team of people over the course of 10 years, more actively in the last 5, to build these massive games that teach entrepreneurship and business education. I think this is super important because it turns out small amounts of business education absolutely transform people's lives. We have all these controlled studies that show that. I really want to figure out how do we teach at scale. At Wharton, I can teach in a classroom great, but not in this way. So we've built this whole gaming platform that does instructional teaching, and there's a lot of clever stuff. I want to show you a little bit how it works, right? Both because I want to brag, but also because it'll be contextually useful later. So we've done a lot of intellectual thinking about how you do this. And by the way, if you want to, you can go to Wharton Interactive. I'll give you the site. You can play a bunch of our games for free, including one that is a teaching simulation, and another one that you run a small business. But we're building all these complex games, and we're building this around this pedagogical approach. There's me. I probably should have used a different person's picture, but there's 2 of me. Beard's a little better cut there. But anyway, the idea is that every one of our simulations starts with the idea of built-in lessons. So not just me, but we brought in experts from around the world to teach lessons. In this case, it's an entrepreneurship simulation. And we're actually going to have people run a fake company in real time over the course of 6 class sessions. So it's like a 20-hour experience with all the teaching is built in, which is really cool, right? So you actually have videos and information of all these kind of famous people about how to run a company. And then we actually built like fake Gmail, fake Slack. And you actually get email messages from people. You have to respond to them. People get angry if you don't do things. I've had, for our science fiction-based one, I had the person who won the Hugo Award this year help me out in writing it, which was pretty exciting because it's my nerd heart sings. That's the sort of Oscars of science fiction. So all of this is kind of built in. And so what happens is you're faced with these challenges. You have to solve all these problems. We even built in fake Zoom meetings. Let's see if this will work here. So you actually, literally get Zoom calls, and you're hiring someone in this case. You have to choose what answer you want to send to them. So I've been building this stuff out for a long time. They work really well. And then there's all kinds of cool feedback that you get, right? You do your Zoom meetings. And then afterwards, you end with an elevator pitch. And you have to pitch your idea in this entrepreneurship case. And you get 35 pages of feedback, right? Detailed grading information. You get, it's all gamified. So there's scores and all kinds of cool stuff there. And you get these detailed reports. Everything you do right or wrong, you get feedback on. So really been awesome, working really hard on this, and it's working, right? 3,000 instructors are using it. We've got incredibly high completion rates. I do MOOCs and stuff too. People love this stuff. It works really well. Love to talk more about it. And this has been a lot of my life's work in the short term. But I've been using AI a lot recently. So I decided to do something. I decided to ask AI a question. What if I just used GPT-4? Okay, so again, I've got a 15-person team. They're all brilliant. I've got creative fiction writers, and I've got coders, all these people working together, pedagogy experts. What if I just asked GPT, hey, ChatGPT, I want to do a deliberate practice about how to conduct negotiations. You're my negotiation teacher. Simulate a scenario in which I have to engage in negotiation. You'll fill the role of one party. I'll be the other. You'll ask for my response for each step in the scenario, and then you'll give me details of what they do, and you'll grade my response at the end. If I do well, you'll give me a harder task. If I do badly, you'll give me an easier task. And it just started doing it, right? It's not 100% there, but it's 90% of the way to what would have taken us, and we're very good at this, weeks to build, right? Months to build with a whole team. I can do it with a paragraph, right? And we're experimenting right now with how we can do this with 3 or 4 paragraphs. And right now we have a version of the game that we just worked on this week where you see a little video of me talking, and then we fed everything I have spoken about the topic into the AI, and you can now ask me questions in the AI. And then the next phase, we spin up a AI that is your counterparty to negotiate with, and you negotiate with that person. And then a third AI appears and grades you on your performance, right? End to end, taking it, it's 5 paragraphs of work, right? A little bit of fine tuning, but we don't need a huge team. It's done, right? And so my feeling about this, so there's some AI art for you. So I think we're on the edge of a real transformation, like a very, very serious one. And that's kind of what I want you to be thinking about here, right? Which is a lot of you are EdTech providers, and suddenly we've democratized education technology, right, in a really fundamental way. Any of you can experiment with this. You've got this paragraph. We should be figuring out how to share them among ourselves as educators. But if your advantage is that we had this very elaborate simulation system, and now we can do this with a prompt, what does that mean for your education system, right? It means a lot of empowering teachers to do stuff. But what does it mean for the EdTech providers here in the room? And I think that's a kind of harder question, right? Because it's not just simulations. I have managed to get GPT to do Harvard case studies with 2 paragraphs of text. Like, write a Harvard case study about why Google is not winning in AI, and then write the teaching note for it. And then write the board plan of what I'd write on the board. Write the assignments that I'd give to the students in the essays. Give me the rubrics for the assignment. Create a fake assignment. Grade the assignment. What would the students want to ask me about the assignment? What are the first questions they should ask? Simulate a classroom of diverse students asking me questions. Have them ask me the questions and let me practice it, right? Sentence, sentence, sentence. It just does it, right? Is it 100% correct? No, of course. It hallucinates and makes stuff up. Is it pretty amazing? Right? Yes, right? And as anyone who's an instructor for the room knows, you can be teaching a class and get everything exactly right, and your students learn something completely different than what you were saying, right? So I'm a little less worried about the lying in this piece, because it's not usually harmful lying. There are facts wrong, but every teacher gets things wrong too, and we'll get better at facts, right? This is the worst AI you're ever going to use. It's the one available to you right now. It's only going to get better. I don't know if it's going to get better faster, and we all have to worry about that, or whether it's going to get better slower, but it's certainly not going to get worse than it is now, and it's certainly going to get better. So don't get comfortable. It's like, oh, it doesn't do math. It will do math, right? It's not going to be a problem. It's not creative. Actually, it already is maxing out our creativity tests that we give to humans, like the association test and things like that, but it'll get better at that too. So we can't really draw rules about what it's doing and what it's not doing. It's already doing a huge amount of education work. Again, wonderful if you're an instructor, worrying if you're an EdTech provider, I think, right? OK, so I want to talk just about a few things, right? Final thoughts here, which is we've never had, this is the democratization moment we've been waiting for. We have an EdTech tool that is available to everybody everywhere, right? With the right paragraph, so much work has gone into it. I was peripherally involved with the One Laptop for Child program at MIT, which is a great idea. We're going to give everybody laptops all over the world. But it was all this other systems had to be in place. It kind of failed because there wasn't the right technology around it at the time. There wasn't the right support. We now have a tool that really is in everybody's hands and can work as a tutor. You put in a math problem, it will help you work through it. You say, please help me out. It will help you. What do we do with that? It's a really fundamental rethinking of what it means to do education. It also means you can build your own EdTech solution, right? Whoever in your school is the most creative person or your university can just come up with a whole bunch of lessons and send them to you, right? It used to be that you're going and sharing lesson plans online. Share a prompt, and now you're in much better shape, and it's interactively building stuff for you. You're programming in English prose. It's crazy when you do that. I can't program at all in non-statistical programming languages. I only know nerd programming. And I have written 10 Python programs in the last week because I just asked ChatGPT, come up with a way to automatically download scores from Canvas, assignments from Canvas, grade those assignments using GPT according to rubric, and then re-upload them to Canvas. And it spits up Python code, and I just run it, and it does the thing, right? Again, for my students, I've not done that with you guys yet actively. I'm looking at the cameras. But the point is that we don't need to wait for newer AI. This is not about, there's a lot of obsession over what happens next. It doesn't matter. The singularity for us as educators and as EdTech providers is already here, right? We already have a huge change in the world of work, a huge change in the world of education. Nobody has direct answers for you. There's no rule book. So what I would recommend that we think about doing is, as educators, is to experiment with these systems, to use them as much as possible, to embrace them, to ask your students to embrace them. And it will require change, but we have some more room to change in education than in other fields to do that. And I think we have a lot of power to do that, and we really have a tool now that changes the nature of the game, right? And I think we're going to realize a lot of old methods don't work, but we can adapt, right? We already know, I think a lot of you can already picture a classroom of the future where people are using tools like the online video and these tutors outside of class that come into class and doing really satisfying activities where you can pay the attention to them as an educator that you need, right? We can do these things. It's not going to be impossible to adjust, but we don't know what that future looks like. And the best thing you could do right now is stay nimble by trying these things out yourself. So if you're not a huge user of ChatGPT, I think everybody needs 10 or 20 hours in this at a minimum, and I think you should be using it for every task you do. You'll find it's bad at some things, good at some things. That's the only way to learn. There is no rule book. You shouldn't wait for a memo to come down. Just start doing it, right? And you will figure it out. Figure out how to be the person that this matters to. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you want to do any of our simulations, I think that's on screen. Yeah. You can actually go to interactive.wharton. And I've got like a little blog, which I'm just always trying to publish. Like there's a bunch of academic papers and stuff on how to do this stuff that you can build from too. Thank you guys very much. It's a really exciting future. I'm looking forward to figure out what we all discover. Thank you.